Alright guys, what's up? It's Mr. Let's come back at another video. Today, two-way frequency tables, categorical data. So, we've been using basically quantitative data recently and quantitative variables. Now, a quantitative variable can be counted or measured. So, like the number of assists and rebounds, the amount of money made in tips, shoe size, height, things that we can measure. And a categorical variable represents a quality or a name. So down here, we're going to determine if these are categorical or quantitative. So gender, can gender be like the gender of a baby born in the month of June? Is that like a value? Is that a number? No, that's a category. This is categorical. We're looking at the categories. We're not putting them into things based on their numbers. We're putting them in things based on their gender. Thickness of plastic of various types of water bottles, that is very clearly quantitative. All right, we're measuring. We're looking at the thickness. We're measuring. Favorite flavor of ice cream between these three, that is definitely categorical. And lastly, the number of pages you can read of your favorite book before you fall asleep. That's quantitative. All right, we're measuring the number of pages. All right, so we've recently looked at scatter plots. Now we're going to move into what's called a two-way frequency table. All right, it's two-way because each bivariate data entry is composed of an ordered pair from two categorical variables. So that's like saying we're interested in whether there's an association between a person's gender and whether or not they smoke. The following ordered pairs are possible outcomes. We're only looking at the possible outcomes. So you can either be female and non-smoking, female and smoker, male and non-smoking, or male and smoker. The table is a frequency table because the entries count the number of data points that fall into each combination of the categories. So we're going to construct and look at two-way frequency tables here. So Carlos really enjoys spending time with his friends, and he feels sad one of his friends can't hang out with him. And often one of his friends can't hang out with him because they're either doing their chores or they can't stay out late at night. And he noticed it tend to be the same group of friends that have curfews on school nights who also have chores to do at home. So he's wondering, is there an association here? So he asked 52 students at his school whether they had a curfew and if they had household chores. And we get this table below. So how many students have a curfew and have chores? So we're going to look at has a curfew and has chores. We're going to look at where they intersect, and that's 26 students. Now, no curfew and chores, we're going over here to no curfew, and we're looking at the row that is has chores. There are 9 of the 52 people he asked. And how many have no curfew and no chores? They have nothing to do at home. We got 12 there. So we can also calculate the frequencies for total column and total row. These frequencies represent a total count for one variable. So the total kids who have a curfew is 26 plus 5, which is 31. The total kids without a curfew is 21. The total kids with chores is 35, and the total kids without chores is 17. Add these together in the row, we get 52. Add them in the column, we get 52 either way. Siri, I wasn't talking to you. Okay. So, how many of the students surveyed had chores? 35 of them did. How many had a curfew? 31. We can also find the total number of students that he surveyed, which we just did. So let's look at this. We're looking at 100 randomly selected vegetable-eating residents and asked each of them 2 questions. Do you obtain your vegetables at the grocery store, the farmer's market, or your home garden? And do you like tomatoes? So, we're trying to see if there's an association with where you get them and whether you like tomatoes. So we're going to fill in the frequencies in the total columns and row in the table. So the total number of people who go to the grocery store is 80. That's a terrible 8. Total from a farmer's market is 5. And total from a home garden is 15. As you can see, that adds up to 100. Total who like tomatoes is 50 plus 4, which is 54. Plus 12 is 66. 31, 34. And again, these should agree and add up to 100. And again, we looked how many people get their tomatoes from the farmer's market and dislike tomatoes. So we're going to go over to farmer's market and go down to dislike tomatoes. That's 1. That's not very many. How many people get their tomatoes from a home garden and like? So we go over to the column that's home garden, and we go down to like tomatoes, and there's 12. How many people get their tomatoes from a grocery store? Well, 80. 80 people get their groceries from the grocery store. And how many people like tomatoes? Of the 100, 66 do. So we're not quite sure if this suggests an association between enjoying tomatoes and having a garden. Let's look further. Use the given information to complete the frequency table about the eating habits of 595 students at Copper Ridge Middle School. So 190 male students eat breakfast regularly out of 320 total males. So right there, the 320 total males. We're going to go down the male column to total and put 320. Now 190 eat breakfast regularly. 320 minus 190 is 130. 295 students do not eat breakfast. Actually, I'm going to erase that 130. Let's just put what they have. 295 students don't eat breakfast regularly, so that's total. And 165 females do not eat breakfast regularly. And again, we can see these two agree that this has to be 130. And of the 595 surveyed, that means that the males who eat breakfast or people who eat breakfast regularly has to be 300 students, because 595 minus 295 is 300, which means that the total number of females who eat breakfast regularly has to be 300 minus 190, which is 110. Add up 110 with 165 and you get 275, which means male plus female, we do get that total. How many total females were surveyed? 275. Now we just look at our table. How many people surveyed eat breakfast regularly? Total eat breakfast regularly, 300. How many total people were surveyed? Well, it told us in the beginning we got 595 students. How many males surveyed do not eat breakfast regularly? Males do not eat breakfast regularly, 130. How many females surveyed eat breakfast regularly? Females eat regularly, 110. Now, what percentage of the total number of people eat breakfast regularly? Well, to find that, we take the total who eat breakfast regularly, which is 300, and we divide that by 595. Now, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm going to pull out my handy-dandy calculator, and we're going to see. So 300 divided by 595, about 50.42%. What percentage of females surveyed eat breakfast regularly? Well, females eat breakfast regularly, that's 110. So we go 110 divided by 595. Ooh, wrong. I made a mistake there. Of the 275 females, how many eat breakfast regularly? 110. And out of the females, that is 40%. What percentage of the people who eat breakfast regularly are male? So, of the people who eat breakfast regularly, which is 300, how many of those are male? Well, that's 190 divided by 300 is 63.3%. What percentage of the total number of people surveyed are females who do not eat breakfast regularly? So females who do not eat breakfast regularly, that's right here, 165. And we're talking about of the total. So we're going to take 165 and divide by 595 to get about 27.73%. So again, make up some problems, guys. The data in the table below is about modes of transportation to and from school at Brookside High. Fill in the missing information. So we're going to look at where we can actually fill it in. All right, so we got two 2 rows and 4 columns. So I'm going to look and see where I've got totals, and I've got one of the other rows filled in. Car, total is 45. Male is 28, which means 45 minus 28, that's 17. Bus, 27 minus 12 is 15. Cycle, 69 minus 17 is 52. So now we can see we can add the 28 plus the 15 plus the 52 and subtract that from 129. That gives us 95, right? 28 plus 52 is 80, plus 15 is 95, yep. 129 minus 95, that's 34, which means the number who walk is 34 plus 46, which is 80. Add these all up, or add up these totals here, and we're going to get 200, wow, not 100, 221 students total. So, let's answer these questions. How many males ride their bikes to school? 52. How many females take the bus? 12. How many females were surveyed? 92. How many students were surveyed? Total, 221. What percentage of the total number of people surveyed walk to school? So we're going to take the total number who walk and divide by the total number of students. 80 divided by 221. Well, got to get back into my handy-dandy calculator. That's about 36.2%. Isn't this fun, guys? What percent of the total people surveyed are females that bike? So females bike is 17. And it's out of the total number. Okay, so we're going to take 17 and divide by 221, which gives us roughly 7.69%. What percentage of males surveyed cycle to school? So males total is 129, cycle is 52. We take 52 and divide by 129. So that's about 40.31%. Ah! My phone! My computer! Alright, guys, I'm going to let you... Actually, no, I'll help you guys out with this one, building your own table. Alright, so I'm going to help you guys build it, but you guys are going to have to answer the questions and finish filling it in. Alright, so 25 people surveyed owned smartphones. 20 people that own a smartphone do not own an MP3. 9 people who do own smartphones, but they don't own MP3. So I'm going to say that we've got own smartphone, don't own smartphone. And then we got total. Over here we've got own MP3, don't own MP3. And then we got total. Alright, so 25 people surveyed owned smartphones. So total owned smartphone is 25. 20 people that own a smartphone, so we're in this column, do not own an MP3 player. So here we've got 20, where it goes own a smartphone and doesn't own an MP3. 9 people who do not own smartphones, but they do own an MP3 player. So out of the don't own a smartphone, but do own an MP3, there is 9 people there. And then people who don't own an MP3 player, total is 24. Alright, so let's finish building it out. It's not going to be too hard. If we got 25 total people who own a smartphone, and 20 of them don't own an MP3, that means that 5 of them must own an MP3 player, which means our total who own an MP3 player is 14. Now, if we have 24 people who don't own an MP3 player, and 20 of them own a smartphone, that means the other 4 must not own a smartphone, which gives us a total number of students who don't own a smartphone, to 13, and our total is 38. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you to answer the questions. As always, hope you enjoyed the math. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. As always, guys, we'll see you soon.